So, Randolph Carter, in the name of the other entities, I spare you and charge you to seek that sunset city which is yours, and to send thence the drowsy truant entities, for whom the dream world awaits. Not hard to find is that rosial fever of the entities, that fanfare of supernatural trumpets and clash of immortal cymbals, that mystery whose place and meaning have haunted you through the halls of waking and the gulfs of dreaming, and tormented you with hints of vanished memory, and the pain of lost things, awesome and momentous. Not hard to find is that symbol and relic of your days of wonder, for truly it is but the stable and eternal gem wherein all that wonder sparkles, crystallized, to light your evening path. Behold, it is not over unknown seas, but back over well-known years, that your quest must go, back to the bright, strange things of infancy, and the quick, sun-drenched glimpses of magic that old scenes brought to wide young eyes. For know you that your gold and marble city of wonder is only the sum of what you have seen and loved in youth. It is the glory of Boston's hillside roofs and western windows aflame with sunset, of the flower-fragrant common and the great dome on the hill, and the tangle of gables and chimneys, and the violet valley where the many-bridged Charles flows drowsily. These things you saw, Randolph Carter, when your nurse first wheeled you out in the springtime, and they will be the last things you will ever see with eyes of memory and of love. And there is antique Salem, with its brooding years and spectral Marblehead, scaling its rocky precipices into past centuries, and the glory of Salem's towers and spires seen afar from Marblehead's pastures, across the harbor against the setting sun. There is Providence, quaint and lordly on its 7 hills over the blue harbor, with terraces of green leading up to steeples and citadels of living antiquity, and Newport climbing wraith-like from its dreaming breakwater. Arkham is there, with its moss-grown gambrel roofs, and the rocky, rolling meadows behind it, and antediluvian Kingsport, hoary with stacked chimneys, and deserted quays, and overhanging gables, and the marvel of high cliffs, and the milky, misted ocean, with toiling buoys beyond, cool vales in Concord, cobbled lands in Portsmouth, twilight bends of rustic New Hampshire roads, where giant elms half-hide white farmhouse walls, and creaking well sweeps, Gloucester's salt wharves, and Truro windy willows, vistas of distant steepled towns and hills beyond hills along the northern shore, hushed stony slopes and low ivied cottages in the lee of huge boulders and Rhode Island's back country, scent of the sea and fragrance of the fields, spell of the dark woods and joy of the orchards and gardens at dawn. These, Randolph Carter, are your city, for they are yourself. New England bore you, and into your soul she poured a liquid loveliness which cannot die. This loveliness, molded, crystallized, polished by years of memory and dreaming, is your terraced wonder of elusive sunsets, and to find that marble parapet with curious urns and carven rail, and descend at last these endless balustraded steps to the city of broad squares and prismatic fountains, you need only to turn back to the thoughts and visions of your wistful boyhood. Look, through that window shine the stars of eternal night. Even now they are shining above the scenes you have known and cherished, thinking of their charm, that they may shine more lovely over the gardens of dream. There is Antares. He is winking at this moment over the roofs of Tremont Street, and you could see him from your window on Beacon Hill. Out beyond those stars yawn the gulfs from whence my mindless masters have sent me. Some day you too may traverse them, but if you're wise, you will beware such folly. For of those mortals who have been and returned, only one preserves a mind unshattered by the pounding, clawing horrors of the void. Muhammad? Terrors and blasphemies gnaw one another for space, and there is more evil in the lesser ones than in the greater, even as you know from the deeds of those who sought to deliver you into my hands, whilst I myself harbored no wish to shatter you, and would indeed have helped you hither long ago, had I not been elsewhere busy, and certain that you would yourself find the way. Shun, then, the outer hells, and stick to the calm, lovely things of your youth. Seek out your marvelous city, and drive thence the recreant great ones, sending them back gently to those scenes which are their own youth, and which wait uneasy for the return. Islam has a theory of I wouldn't say theory, it has a claim about the 7 universes, and the lowest one is the one with the stars and stuff. So, but it doesn't say that he was the only one who had such a vision of being taken to the 7th heaven. Easier even then, the way of dim memory is the way I will prepare for you. See, there comes hither a monstrous Shentek, led by a slave who, for your peace of mind, had best keep invisible. Mount and ready. There, Yogash the Black will help you on the scaly horror. Steer for that brightest star just south of the zenith. It is Vega, and in 2 hours will be just above the terrace of your sunset city. Steer for it only till you hear a far-off singing in the high Ather. Higher than that lurks madness, so rein your Shantak when the first note lures. Look then back to earth, and you will see shining the deathless altar flame of Ired Na from the sacred roof of a temple. That temple is in your desiderate sunset city, so steer for it before you heed the singing and are lost. When you draw nigh the city, steer for the same high parapet, whence of old you scanned the outspread glory, prodding the Shantek till he cry aloud. That cry the great ones will hear and know as they sit on their perfumed terraces, and there will come upon them such a homesickness that all your city's wonders will not console them, for the absence of Kadath's grim castle and the pashent of eternal stars that crowns it. Then must you land amongst them with the Shantek, and let them see and touch that noisome and hypocephalic bird. Meanwhile, discoursing to them of unknown Kadath, which you will so lately have left, and telling them how its boundless halls are lovely and unlighted, where of old they used to leap and revel in supernal radiance. And Shantak will talk to them in the manner of Shantaks, but it will have no powers of persuasion beyond the recalling of elder days. Yeah, beware of secondary authority claims. Oh, you must obey us because of this. Well, is this what I'm obeying, or is it you? Over and over, you must speak to the wandering great ones of their home and youth, till at last they will weep and axe to be shewn the returning path they had forgotten. Thereat you can loose the waiting Shantek, sending him skyward with the homing cry of his kind, hearing which the great ones will prance and jump with antique mirth, and forthwith stride after the lonely bird in the fashion of entities, through the deep gulfs of heaven to Kadath's familiar towers and domes. Then will the marvelous sunset city be yours to cherish and inhabit forever. And once more will the earth's entities rule the dreams of men from their accustomed seat. Now go, the casement is open and the stars wait outside. Already your Shantak wheezes, and titters with impatience. Steer for Rega through the night, but turn when the singing sounds. Forget not this warning, lest horrors unthinkable suck you into the gulf of shrieking and ululant madness. Remember the other entities. They are great and mindless and terrible, and lurk in the outer voids. They are not good entities to shun. Hi. Ah, Shanta. You were off. Send back Earth's entities to their haunts on unknown Kadath, and pray to all space that you may never meet me in my 1,000 other forms. Farewell, Randolph Carter, and beware, for I am Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos. And Randolph Carter, gasping and dizzy on his hideous shantak, shot screamingly into space toward the cold blue glare of boreal Vega, looking but once behind him at the clustered and chaotic turrets of the Ank's nightmare, wherein still glowed the lone lurid light of that window above the air and the clouds of Earth's dreamland. Great polypus horrors slid darkly past, and unseen bat wings beat multitudinous around him. But still he clung to the unwholesome mane of that loathly and hypocephalic scaled bird. The stars danced mockingly, almost shifting now and then to form pale signs of doom that one might wonder one had not seen and feared before, and ever the winds of nether howled of vague blackness and loneliness beyond the cosmos. Then, through the glittering vault ahead, there fell a hush of portent, and the winds and horrors slunk away, as night things slink away before the dawn. Trembling in waves that golden wisps of nebula made weirdly visible, there rose a timid hint of far-off melody, droning in faint chords that our own universe stars know not. And as that music grew, the shantak raised its ears and plunged ahead, and Carter likewise bent to catch each lovely strain. It was a song, but not the song of any voice. Night and the spears sang it, and it was old when space and Nyarlathotep and the other entities were born. Faster flew the shantak, and lower bent the rider, drunk with the marvel of strange gulfs, and whirling in the crystal coils of outer magic. Then came, too, the late warning of the evil one, the sardonic caution of the demonic legate, who had bidden the seeker beware the madness of that song. Only to taunt had Nyarlathotep marked out the way to safety, and the marvelous sunset city. Only to mock had that black messenger revealed the secret of these truant entities, whose steps he could so easily lead back at will, for madness and the void's wild vengeance are Nyarlathotep's only gifts to the presumptuous. And frantic through the rider strove to turn his disgusting steed, that leering, tittering shantak, coursed on impetuous and relentless, flapping its great slippery wings in malignant joy, and headed for those unhallowed pits, whither no dreams reach, that last amorphous blight of nethermost confusion, where bubbles and blasphemies at infinity's center, the mindless Daman Sultan, as a thought, whose name no lips dare speak aloud, unswerving and obedient to the foul legate's orders, that hellish bird plunged onward through shoals of shapeless lurkers, and capers in darkness, ambiguous herds of drifting entities that pawed and groped and pawed, the nameless larvae of other entities that are like them, blind and without mind, and possessed of singular hungers and thirsts. Outward, unswerving and relentless, and tittering hilariously to watch, the chuckling and hysterics to which the risen song of night and the spheres had turned, that eldritch, scaly monster bore its helpless rider, hurtling and shouting, cleaving the uttermost rim and spanning the outermost abysses, leaving behind the stars and the realms of matter, and darting meteor-like through the stark formlessness, toward those inconceivable, unlighted chambers beyond time where Azathoth gnaws, shapeless and ravenous, amidst the muffled, maddening beat of vile drums, and the thin, monotonous whine of accursed flutes. Onward, onward through the screaming, cackling, and blackly populous gulfs, and then from some dim, blessed distance there came an image and a thought to Randolph Carter to be the doomed. Too well had Nyarlathotep planned his mocking and his tantalizing, for he had brought up that which no gusts of icy terror could quite efface. Home, New England, Beacon Hill, the waking world. For know you that your gold and marble city of wonder is only the sum of what you have seen and loved in youth, the glory of Boston's hillside roofs and western windows aflame with sunset, of the flower-fragrant common, and of the great dome on the hill, and the tangle of gables and chimneys in the violet valley, where the many-bridged Charles flows drowsily. This loveliness, molded, crystallized, and polished by years of memory and dreaming, is your terraced wonder of elusive sunsets, and to find that marble parapet with curious urns and carven rail, and descend at last those endless, balustrated steps to the city of broad squares and prismatic fountains, you need only turn back to the thoughts and visions of your wistful boyhood. Onward, onward, dizzily onward to ultimate doom, through the blackness, where the sightless feelers pawed and slimy snouts jostled, and nameless things tittered and tittered and tittered. But the image and the thought had come, and Randolph Carter knew clearly that he was dreaming, and only dreaming, and that somewhere in the background, the world of waking and the city of his infancy lay still. Words came again. You need only turn back to the thoughts and visions of your wistful boyhood. Turn, turn, blackness on every side. But Randolph Carter could not turn. Oh, but Randolph Carter could turn. Thick and through the rushing nightmare that clutched his senses, Randolph Carter could turn and move. He could move, and if he chose, he could leap off the evil shantak that bore him hurtlingly doomward at the orders of Nyarlathotep. He could leap off and dare those depths of night that yawned interminably down, those depths of fear whose terrors yet could not exceed the nameless doom that lurked, waiting at chaos's core. He could turn and move and leap. He would. Off that vast, hypocephalic abomination leaped the doomed and desperate dreamer, and down through endless voids of sentient blackness he fell. Aeons reeled, and universes died, and were born again. Stars became nebulae, and nebulae became stars, and still Randolph Carter fell through those endless voids of sentient blackness. Then, in the slow creeping course of eternity, the utmost cycle of the cosmos churned itself into another futile completion, and all things became again as they were unreckoned kalpas before. Matter and light were born anew as space once had known them. and comets, suns, and worlds sprang flaming into life, though nothing survived to tell that they had been gone, that they had been and gone, always and always, back to no first beginning. And there was a firmament again, and a wind, and a glare of purple light in the eyes of the falling dreamer. There were entities and presences and wills, beauty and evil, and the shrieking obnoxious night, robbed of its prey. For through the unknown ultimate cycle had lived a thought and a vision of the dreamer's boyhood. And now there were remade a waking world and an old cherished city to body and justify these things. Out of the void, Nagak, the violet gas, had pointed the way, and the archaic Nodens was bellowing his guidance from unhinted deeps. Stars swelled to dawns, and dawns burst into fountains of gold, carmine and purple, and still the dreamer fell. Cries rent the ether as ribbons of light beat back the fiends from outside, and hoary Nodens raised a howl of triumph when Nyarlathotep, close on the quarry, stopped, baffled by a glare that seared his formless, hunting horrors to gray dust. Randolph Carter had indeed descended at last the wide, marmoreal flights to his marvelous city, where he was come again to the fair New England world that had wrought him so to the organ chords of morning's myriad whistles and dawn's blaze, thrown dazzling through purple panes by the great gold dome of the State House on the hill. Randolph Carter leaped shoutingly awake. Within his Boston room, birds sang in hidden gardens, and the perfume of trellised vines came wistful from arbors his grandfather had reared. Beauty and light glowed from classic mantel and carven cornice and walls grotesquely figured, while a sleek black cat rose yawning from hearthside sleep that his master's start and shriek had disturbed. And vast infinities away past the gate of deeper slumber, and the enchanted wood, and the gardened lands, and the Carinarian sea, and the twilight reaches of Inquanac, and the crawling chaos, Nyarlathotep strode brooding into the Ank's castle atop unknown Kadath in the cold waste, and taunted insolently the mild entities of earth, whom he had snatched abruptly from their scented revels in the marvelous city, the marvelous Sunset City. And yeah, this is fiction, so I'm not pretending it's something else. But sometimes all it's needed to defeat, you think things are helpless, and you just make that effort, and it's defeated. Even plunge in helplessness, even, giving up your life. That may be your success rather than surviving and hanging on. But sometimes hanging on is, the madness and appearance of demons. If you're shown visions by entities that you don't trust, how much of it's delusion and how much of it is reality it varies. And are they only showing you about a reality in order to influence you towards something, some belief, some action, or away from something? Well, my point's kind of lost, but to some degree, you're in charge of your dream worlds. And your waking worlds, you're responsible for your choices, regardless your consciousness that you're dealing with.